Hello, I'm Julie Tam, managing broker of LYN Realty in Houston, and thank you for joining me for Smarter Real Estate Weekly on Wednesdays. As you can tell, I am very pregnant, over 8 months pregnant at this point while we're shooting this video, and who knows at what stage while you're watching it, probably soon after. Anyway, today we're talking about window treatment. So this is part of my series, Building My Dream Home and Now Living in My Dream Home, since we are moved in now. And I'm going to take you through the different window treatments that we have in this home, how we selected it and why, and give you some good tips along the way as well. I am not a window treatments expert. I'm a real estate broker, but because of my experience in helping clients with their homes and discussing options, and then of course outfitting our own homes and rental homes with window treatments, I am at least partially qualified to talk about it. Okay, so we are in the formal dining room, and as you can see, we actually have a couple different things going on here, and this is called layering. So really, these drapes on the sides don't really serve much of a function. They're not covering the windows. In fact, they're known as dummy panels, meaning they don't do anything. You really can't move them. You can see the grommets, those little loops at the top there where it's hooked onto the rod. And obviously, there's not a whole lot of give. The pinch pleating going on at each little pinch where the fabric is coming together and sewn together, you can't separate that. So you can already tell there's not a whole lot of fabric being stacked. This is about as much fabric as there is. This is about as far out as these will go. So it's not giving you a ton of coverage, just about maybe like a foot of the window. As I push it aside, you can see how much is covered. So really the main job is being done by this particular shade, this fabric that is behind it. But the reason for layering, as the window experts will say, is that it gives the room more visual interest and depth. So it looks nicer because you have more going on. These are custom drapes. So we selected the fabric, and then our interior designer's workroom made them, and then they came and installed them here. These are Hunter Douglas. All the shades that you see that are not drapes are from Hunter Douglas. And we call them drapes on the custom drapes because they're not curtains. Curtains are ready-made. They're kind of the less expensive version. You could go to a store that sells them and just buy them for your home. They come in pretty standard sizes, so they're not going to fit your window perfectly, but they're going to work in general for pretty standard size, different types of windows. But these are also really nice custom fabric shades. So Hunter Douglas made all of them in our home, and they're all the cassette style. So you've got the valance at the top, and then if you look from underneath, you can see kind of like a cylindrical roll, like a paper towel roll, where everything rolls up onto it, and it has a cord loop for control. So if you look over here, this beaded chain is what you would pull to, and the larger and wider it is, the heavier and harder to pull, like this one. And then you would pull it down from the other side. And this is screwed in to the wood frame of the window, and you can see the brand name, and it's attached like this. So that way, it's attached and safe. Nowadays, with regulations of child safety, you cannot just have dangling cords that can strangle a child. Okay, this is a more sheer fabric. It's not very sheer. It does give you some privacy, but at night, if the lights are on in here, someone outside could see into here. Not a perfectly clear picture of my face in detail, but they could see me and what I'm doing. And so anyway, we have to keep that in mind. This is a chiffon fabric, and this is a designer level shade. And so we've got this all around. You can see the other custom drapes there on those smaller windows, and because those are smaller windows, the drapes actually do cover a bigger percentage of those windows than the big front window. Let's cross over to the study. This is the only room in our home that's still not yet finished being unpacked. We've been in this home for just 3 months now. Part of that time I was on bed rest for pregnancy for like a couple weeks, so it's been still a work in progress, but you don't have to pay attention to that. Let me pull up my iPad, which is where we have an app called Power View, and this is where we control our shades. So what first happened is we had these chiffon shades installed. These are the same as in the dining room, and then discovered that it was letting in way too much light. So in the morning when the sun would come through, especially this front window, it would be way too bright. It would cause a glare on our computer screens. We'd be squinting trying to work in here. And so the lovely window treatments lady decided to help us out. So I'm going to go ahead and open these shades. Oh, you know what? I messed that up. Pause this. Let's see. Eh, I guess it's okay. Well, I guess I should have opened up the shades from the side. It's a little hard for me to reach being this pregnant anyway, so that didn't quite work, but that's okay. What you're seeing is inside there is a double honeycomb that she installed to provide extra coverage. And so it makes it more opaque, lets in less light. It's not as glaring and bright because there's sort of like a sheen, a shiny situation going on here that makes it, extra bright. Let me just see if I can even. Let's see. Okay, let's do this again. And then I'll bring the double honeycomb down so that you can see that better without this front one in the way. Okay, here we go. Let's try this again. See, I really do these unedited in one take. Now press and hold to adjust shade, release to stop shade. Why do I have to hold? Oh no, I can just bring it down. Here we go. Let's do that. All right. So yes, you can see the app. It's bringing it down. The double honeycomb means there is a layer in between. There's kind of an air pocket in between. They mentioned that inevitably, it's Texas. We have bugs. We have very few in our home, though. We keep things really tight and exterminated around here. But yes, a bug could end up in between the two layers. And if that happens, you have to flick it and blow it out with a hairdryer so that you don't squish the bug and get guts all over the in-between of the honeycomb. So isn't that a great thought? So yeah, what I did a while ago, I probably shouldn't have done because I couldn't even see the honeycomb shades. You have to really lift up the outside layer before you manipulate the honeycomb so you can check for bugs. Who would have thought that would be a consideration? All right, so let's go through the rest of the home. Coming back here, if you look in the kitchen and the breakfast area, that is a different type of shade. We saw a more sheer chiffon shade at the front of the house. These are called light filtering. It's still Hunter Douglas designer, same kind of the cassette with the cord loop. And you can see, at the top, that valance, which is kind of that rectangular piece, is a similar, it's actually the same color. It's just more opaque because of the thickness of it, that board, but it's the same material and color as this. This you can see is textured. It's kind of like a woven material. Woven wood shades are definitely popular, especially in higher end homes too. But yeah, this is a nice fabric that lets in just enough light. So it's light filtering, but provides a good amount of privacy where people cannot really see through it as easily as they could, for the front rooms. And then something like this, you've got a much longer fabric, but it's the same one as you have on these other windows. And we have this for the breakfast. So, and then when we get to the bottom, it's magnetic. So you see how it attaches? That way, when you're opening and closing the door, it doesn't flap back and forth. And then over here on the sliding glass door, same fabric as we just saw in the breakfast. These are called skyline panels. These are pretty cool because normally when you have, I feel like I'm on the wrong side. Where did that, here. Normally you have to turn vertical blinds perpendicular to your glass before you start opening and close it or you'll damage it. But these actually can be pulled just like that as they are flat and overlapping each other. Okay, they are pretty big and long, so you see how it kind of got caught down here, so you have to watch it and just, let it be. But really nice, again, light filtering, and it gives a really nice, sleek look in here. While we walk upstairs to go to the final area, which is our owner's suite, the bedroom, I will mention that when you are selecting your window coverings, you have to think about a few considerations. First you have to have a budget. So are we going for super luxury? What brands are we going with? You've got the custom versus, something that's a lower price point at a home improvement store like Home Depot or Lowe's. Those are still custom because you have to have the correct measurements for your windows and then put in, your blinds or shades. Otherwise they will look terrible. But this Hunter Douglas is at an even higher price point. It is much nicer. And then you also have to consider colors. So we went with things that really go with the color palette of the home, like the paint color. So it's kind of a white at the front of the house, grays everywhere else. It's like a grayish white taupe. Same thing in here. This, you've got, sorry, I'm totally out of breath because I'm like over 8 months pregnant and hauling this gigantic baby up the stairs. This is the same as downstairs. Now, we could have done blackout in here, but we ended up doing the blackout for the curtains, or the drapes, I should say. They're custom instead. So they have extra thick lining. And as you can see, there's no light that comes through. And so this provides a really nice dark sleeping environment. These drapes are heavy. The fabric is a little heavier. Plus it is so tall. As you can see, the rod is all the way up to the top of the ceiling there. That is about the 10-foot mark. Same thing with the drapes down in the dining room. So you could have it lower, but it wouldn't look quite as grand and luxurious as this. And actually, I need to show you I thought we were going to end here, but I just remembered. These aren't the blackouts. We're going to go to Shay's room to show you the blackout shades. We have this in the 3 secondary bedrooms where we do not have drapes or curtains, but instead, we have these. So you can see when they're up, lots of light comes in. This one is down. However, on the sides, there are still gaps, which you can get the extra side gap fillers to close in and get rid of that light. So far, we haven't had a problem with Shay waking up our son prematurely due to sunlight coming in, so we haven't found the need to do that yet. But we can either get the side gap, things to close that, or we could install some dummy panels of either curtains or drapes. In a secondary bedroom, spending money on custom drapes may not make sense. You might just want to buy some simple curtains that fit the size and not have it super custom because it is just a secondary bedroom. All right, so if you have any questions about this or ideas for future videos or feedback, please go ahead and comment or send me a message. I would love it if you would like this video and subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss an episode on YouTube, where I also post the link to Facebook and LinkedIn, and I thank you so much for watching. The other thing that I want to mention is when you are doing your measurements to give to an installer, or of course, hopefully if the installer comes to measure themselves, that's even better. One final nugget is you've got to measure in 3 places: at the bottom, somewhere in the middle, and at the top, because as I've said in previous videos, the edges, even though they look pretty straight and vertical, they're not. There's going to be the ever so slight curvature, and that's also why these shades cannot go straight all the way out to the side, because if they touch the side, say down here, it may still be a little bit out up here and so forth. So it's not going to be perfect, and that's why the measurements need to be so precise and done at 3 different places along your window. All right, y'all have a nice week, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.